Commander Dae-ho Kim stood at the bridge of the HSS Dauntless, watching the stars through the main viewport. His ship led Earth's 7th Tactical Response Fleet, a group of 20 warships patrolling the outer colonies. Today marked his 5th year protecting human space, but something felt different about this patrol. "Commander, unusual readings at Sector 7, reported Officer Jimin Park. Her fingers moved quickly across the tactical display. Energy signatures don't match any known human ships. Dae-ho walked to her station, his boots making soft sounds on the polished floor. "Show me," he said, leaning over to look at the screen. The display showed 5 large ships moving in a tight formation. They were bigger than human vessels, with strange purple energy trails behind them. Their design was completely alien, all sharp angles and metallic spikes. "Send the standard greeting message," Dae-ho ordered. He returned to his command chair and sat straight, adjusting his dark blue uniform. First contact situations were always tricky. The response came faster than expected. A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking through the translator. "This is Supreme Commander Thex of the Kryvax Mercenary Legion. Your ships are in our path. Move aside or be destroyed." The bridge crew looked at each other. Mercenaries. In human space. Dae-ho pressed the communication button on his chair. "This is Commander Kim of the Earth Defense Force. You are in human territory. State your business or leave." Laughter came through the speakers, a strange, clicking sound. "Human territory. We go where we want. Your primitive ships don't scare us. We've studied your kind. You line up your ships like children's toys. Your tactics are basic." Officer Park's console beeped again. "Commander, they're charging weapons." Dae-ho acted quickly. "All ships, defensive formation Delta. Shields at maximum." The human fleet moved smoothly, spreading out in what looked like a simple defensive line. The alien ships fired first, bright purple beams cutting through space, but the human ships were already moving, their formation breaking apart in what seemed like chaos to the aliens. "Their weapons are strong," reported the weapons officer, "but their targeting systems are slow. They're using predictable attack patterns." Dae-ho smiled slightly. The aliens thought humans were primitive, but they hadn't seen anything yet. "Launch fighters. Show them how humans really fight." Small fighter ships poured out of the larger vessels, moving in complex patterns that looked random but were carefully planned. The alien mercenaries tried to track them but couldn't keep up with the constantly changing formations. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Officer Park. Commander Thex's voice came through again, but this time it had lost some of its confidence. "Interesting tricks, humans. But tricks won't save your outer colonies. We'll be back. And next time, we'll bring the full might of the Kryvax Legion." The alien ships turned and jumped away into hyperspace, leaving the human fleet untouched. Dae-ho stood up and looked at his crew. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've met the Kryvax Legion, and they think we're easy targets." He paused, then added, "Also tell them that the aliens have no idea what human warfare really looks like. They haven't seen our art yet." Officer Park nodded, sending the message. "Do you think they'll really attack our colonies, sir?" "Yes," Dae-ho replied, watching the space where the alien ships had disappeared. "But they'll learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. We've turned war into an art form over thousands of years, and they're about to see a masterpiece." As the fleet regrouped and set course for home, Dae-ho began planning. The aliens thought human tactics were simple and predictable. That mistake would cost them dearly. Soon, they would learn why you should never judge a book by its cover, especially when that book was written in human blood and strategy. The real show was about to begin. Jimin Park sat alone in the tactical room of Earth Defense Headquarters, surrounded by holographic displays showing fleet movements. She had been studying ancient military strategies for hours, searching for something that could help them against the Kryvax Legion. The door opened, and Commander Dae-ho Kim walked in. Still working, Officer Park. Yes, sir, she said, pointing to one of the displays. I think I found something interesting. The aliens believe we're primitive, and that might be our greatest advantage. Daho pulled up a chair and sat down. Tell me more. Jae-min brought up an old image of a traditional Korean military formation. In ancient times, our ancestors sometimes pretended to be weak to trap their enemies. What if we did the same thing in space? She pressed a button, and the display changed to show a star map. The Kryvax Legion thinks they know how humans fight. They expect us to be simple and direct, so let's give them exactly what they expect, but make it part of our plan. Military theater, Daho said slowly, beginning to understand. We turn their arrogance into a weapon against them. At that moment, Intelligence Officer Hyun-woo Lee rushed into the room. His uniform was wrinkled, and he carried a datapad. Commander, Officer Park, you need to see this. He connected his pad to the main display. I've been analyzing the Kryvax Legion's attack patterns from our encounter. They always attack in the same way, like a predator that only knows one way to hunt. The display showed various alien battle formations, all following similar patterns. They're predictable, Hyun-woo explained. They think we're simple, but they're the ones who never change their strategy. Jae-min stood up excitedly. This is perfect. We can use their rigid thinking against them. She quickly typed commands into the system, bringing up a new tactical display. Look at this plan. A hologram showed human ships arranged in what looked like a messy, amateur formation. But hidden within the apparent chaos was a carefully planned trap. We make our ships look disorganized, Jae-min explained. The Kryvax will think we're panicking, but each ship will be exactly where it needs to be. Daho studied the plan carefully, like a spider web that looks like it was built by an amateur, but is actually perfect for catching prey. Exactly, Jae-min said. And I found the perfect place to set our trap. She zoomed the map to show a small colony, New Haven Colony. It's valuable enough to tempt them, but we can evacuate it quickly if needed. Hyun-woo nodded in agreement. The Kryvax Legion's pride will make them overconfident. They'll never expect humans to be this clever. Commander Kim stood up and looked at the displays. How long will it take to put this plan into action? 3 days to evacuate the colony secretly, Hyun-woo said. Another 2 days to position our fleet. Make it happen, Daho ordered. And keep this quiet. The fewer people who know the true plan, the better. As Jae-min and Hyun-woo left to begin preparations, Daho stayed behind, looking at the tactical displays. The plan was risky, but it was also brilliant. The Kryvax Legion thought humans were primitive warriors. Soon they would learn that humans had turned deception itself into an art form. Sometimes, he said to himself, the best way to win a fight is to convince your enemy they've already won. He smiled, thinking of the surprise that awaited the alien mercenaries. The stage was being set for a performance they would never forget. Admiral Sun Mi-choi reviewed the final evacuation reports from New Haven Colony. The last transport ship had departed 6 hours ago, carrying civilians to safety. Now the colony stood empty, its lights still burning to maintain the illusion of normal activity. All pieces are in position, reported Commander Daho Kim from the bridge of the HSS Dauntless. The fleet awaits your orders, Admiral. Sunma studied the tactical display before her. 20 human warships were arranged in what appeared to be a poorly planned defensive formation around New Haven. However, hidden among the asteroids and debris fields lay another 30 stealth vessels, their positions calculated with mathematical precision. Begin Operation Theater, she commanded. Release the modified patrol logs. Officer Jae-min Park activated her console, sending out carefully crafted data packets. These contained false information about New Haven's defenses, making them appear weaker than they actually were. The data suggested that most of the colony's defense fleet had been recalled due to mechanical problems. The bait has been set, Jae-min confirmed. Now we wait for the Kryvax Legion to take it. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, Their long-range sensors detected multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. The Kryvax Legion had arrived with an impressive force of 50 warships. They brought more ships than we anticipated, Daho observed. They must really believe we're weak. Sunmi smiled. The more ships they bring, the more they'll lose. Begin Phase 2. The visible human ships started moving in seemingly panicked patterns. To the watching alien fleet, it looked like the defenders were struggling to maintain formation. Some ships appeared to have engine troubles, while others moved too slowly or too quickly. Supreme Commander Thex's voice came through their communication system. Pathetic humans. Your ships move like lost children. Surrender now, and we might let your colony survive. Sunme pressed a button on her command chair. This is Admiral Choi. Please, we need time to evacuate our civilians. Our ships are having technical difficulties. The alien commander's laugh echoed through the bridge. Technical difficulties. Your entire species is one big technical difficulty. Kryvax Legion, advance and destroy. The alien fleet moved forward in their standard attack pattern, exactly as Intelligence Officer Hyunwoo had predicted. Their massive ships formed a spear-like formation, aiming straight for the heart of the human defense line. They're following the script perfectly, Sunmai said quietly. She watched as the alien ships passed the first set of hidden markers. All ships, maintain current positions. Let them come to us. The Kryvax ships pressed their attack, their confidence growing with each passing moment. They saw only what they expected to see, primitive human vessels struggling to defend their colony. What they didn't see were the stealth ships silently adjusting their positions, creating an invisible net of firepower. Each human vessel, both visible and hidden, was placing itself according to patterns developed over thousands of years of Earth's military history. Admiral, Jimin called out. They've crossed the final marker. All ships are in optimal firing positions. Sun Li nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. The Kryvax Legion thought they were watching a poorly performed retreat. Instead, they were about to witness the opening act of humanity's greatest military performance. Send the signal to all ships, she ordered. The show is about to begin. As the alien fleet moved deeper into the trap, Sunmai thought about how the Kryvax Legion had underestimated humanity. They would soon learn that humans had spent millennia perfecting the art of war. This battle would become their masterpiece. Commander Haejun Kang watched from the ground command center as the Kryvax Legion's dropships entered New Haven's atmosphere. His soldiers were hidden throughout the empty colony, waiting in carefully chosen positions. Every building, every street, and every corner had been prepared for this moment. Ground teams report ready, his assistant announced. All defensive positions are secured. Through the command center's windows, Haejun could see the alien ships landing in the colony's main square. Their purple engines glowed against the evening sky as heavily armed mercenaries began to disembark. Begin Phase 1 of ground defense, Haejun ordered. Show them what they expect to see. A small group of human soldiers appeared from behind a building, firing their weapons at the aliens before quickly retreating. The mercenaries responded exactly as predicted, charging forward with overwhelming force. How primitive! The alien ground commander's voice came through their intercepted communications. They don't even know how to hold a defensive line. Haejun activated his tactical display. More alien dropships were landing across the colony. The mercenaries were spreading out, following the trails of seemingly disorganized human resistance. Commander, reported one of his officers, the enemy is advancing into sectors 3 and 4. They're falling for it. Each retreat by the human forces was carefully planned. Every abandoned position and dropped weapon was placed deliberately. The aliens saw only scattered groups of defenders failing to protect their colony. In space, the battle was also unfolding according to plan. Admiral Sunma's voice came through the secure channel. Ground command, space engagement has begun. Time to show them our true strength. Haejun pressed a button on his command console. All units, execute pattern echo. Let the real dance begin. Suddenly, the scattered human forces moved with perfect coordination. Hidden weapon emplacements activated. Streets that seemed empty became deadly kill zones. The aliens found themselves caught in carefully prepared crossfire. "What is this?" the alien commander shouted over their communications. "They're everywhere." The mercenaries tried to retreat, but every escape route led them into another trap. Buildings that appeared damaged concealed automated defense turrets. Abandoned vehicles exploded at precisely the right moments. "They're using our own advance against us," an alien officer reported frantically. "Every street is a trap." Hajun watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The aliens had expected a simple ground battle. Instead, they were experiencing centuries of human military strategy compressed into a single deadly performance. "Send in the second wave," he ordered. Fresh human troops emerged from hidden bunkers, their movements synchronized like dancers in a deadly ballet. They herded the confused aliens into prepared zones of destruction. In the command center, Hajun's officers coordinated the complex battle plan with precision. Each team knew their role perfectly. Each movement was timed to the second. "Sir," one of his officers called out, "the enemy is attempting to reach their dropships." "Let them run," Hajun replied calmly. "They'll tell others what they saw here today. How humans turned a simple colony defense into a work of art." As the surviving mercenaries fled back to their ships, Hajun sent a message to Admiral Sunbai. "Ground performance complete. The stage is yours." The aliens were about to learn that the ground battle had been merely the opening act. The main performance was still to come, and it would take place among the stars. Lieutenant Du Yeon-yoon stood at her tactical station aboard the HSS Dauntless, watching as the Kryvex Legion's ships ascended from New Haven's surface. The alien vessels were retreating in disarray after their failed ground assault. "All ships, prepare for Phase 3. Admiral Sunmi's voice came through the command channel. "Lieutenant Yoon, you may begin the next movement." Do Yen's fingers moved across her console with practiced precision. The visible human fleet, which had been maintaining its seemingly chaotic formation, began to shift. To the aliens, it appeared as if the human ships were attempting a desperate counterattack. "The enemy fleet is responding," reported Officer Jimin Park. "They're forming their standard combat pattern." Through the bridge viewport, Du Yun could see the massive alien vessels arranging themselves into their familiar spear-like formation. The purple glow of their engines created an ominous light against the darkness of space. "Their arrogance makes them predictable," Du Yen said quietly. She initiated the next sequence of movements. Human ships began firing their weapons in what looked like panic, but each shot was precisely calculated. Supreme Commander Thex's voice boomed through their communications. "Is this the best humans can do? Your ships fire like frightened children. We will end this quickly." The alien fleet pressed forward, their superior numbers giving them confidence. They didn't realize that every retreat, every missed shot, and every seemingly failed maneuver by the human ships was purposeful. "Enemy fleet has reached position Alpha," Jimin announced. "They're exactly where we want them." Du Yun nodded and activated her tactical microphone. "All ships, execute pattern whisper." The human fleet's movements changed subtly. Ships that appeared to be fleeing were actually herding the alien vessels into carefully planned killing zones. Each human vessel moved like a brushstroke in a greater masterpiece. "What are they doing?" An alien officer's confused voice came through their intercepted communications. "Their formations make no sense." But they did make sense. Du Yun was orchestrating a complex dance in space, using patterns developed from centuries of human warfare. Each human ship knew its role perfectly, moving in harmony with the others. "The enemy fleet is fully committed," Commander Daeho Kim reported from his command chair. "They can't see the true pattern yet." Du Yun allowed herself a small smile as she entered the final commands. The human ship's apparently random movements had slowly but surely pushed the alien fleet into exactly the right position. "Admiral," She called out, "The stage is set. The enemy fleet is in the primary target zone." Admiral Sun Mi's response was immediate. "Very well. Lieutenant Yoon, you may reveal our art to them." Do Yeon pressed a single button on her console. Suddenly, the true purpose of every human ship's movement became clear. The alien fleet found itself surrounded not just by the visible human ships, but also by the hidden vessels that had been waiting in perfect position. Impossible. Supreme Commander Thex's voice had lost its arrogance. This was all planned. Every mistake, every retreat. "Not mistakes," Du Yeon whispered, though the aliens couldn't hear her. "Art." The human fleet had performed its complex dance perfectly. Now it was time for the final, and the Kryvax Legion was about to learn why humans were considered masters of the art of war. Supreme Commander Thex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching in disbelief as the true nature of the human battle plan revealed itself. What he had thought were desperate, uncoordinated movements by the human fleet now showed themselves as precise, calculated steps in a grand military performance. "How many human ships are there?" he demanded, his voice shaking with rage. The tactical display showed more and more vessels appearing from their hidden positions. "We're detecting 30 new signatures," his sensor officer reported, fear clear in his voice. They were waiting in the debris fields and asteroid belts. We never saw them." Captain Min Ji-kwan's voice came through all communication channels, calm and clear. "Kryvax Legion, you are surrounded. Your ships are in optimal firing positions, our optimal firing positions. The performance you've witnessed was planned from the beginning." Thex slammed his fist on his command chair. "Impossible. No species can plan battle movements this complex." The human stealth ships had emerged in perfect formation, creating an intricate web of overlapping firing zones. Each vessel was positioned exactly where it needed to be, turning the entire battlefield into a carefully crafted killing ground. "All human vessels, execute final movement," Admiral Sun Mi ordered through the command channel. The space around the Kryvax fleet erupted with weapons fire. Each shot was precisely targeted, each beam of energy part of a larger pattern. Ships that appeared to be firing randomly were actually coordinating their attacks with mathematical precision. "Our shields are failing," Thex's defense officer shouted. "Their weapons fire. It's like they knew exactly where our weak points would be." Indeed, the humans had studied the Kryvax ships carefully. Each blast struck at carefully chosen points, maximizing damage while minimizing energy waste. It was warfare turned into a deadly science. "This is what happens when you mistake simplicity for weakness," Captain Minji transmitted. "Humanity has spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war. You saw only what we wanted you to see." The Kryvax fleet tried to regroup, to form their usual attack patterns, but it was too late. The human ships moved like dancers in a deadly ballet, never staying still, never breaking formation. Each movement opened new firing lanes while closing off escape routes. "We must retreat," one of Thex's officers called out. But even their retreat paths had been calculated and cut off by the humans' master plan. Admiral Sun Mi's voice filled all channels once more. "You came to our territory believing humans were primitive warriors. Now you understand. We have turned war itself into an art form. Let those who survive tell others what they witnessed here." The Kryvax Legion's mighty fleet was being torn apart by what appeared to be simple human ships. But there was nothing simple about the coordinated destruction they faced. Each explosion, each disabled ship, each broken formation was part of a greater composition. On his flagship's bridge, Supreme Commander Thex finally understood. The humans hadn't just prepared a trap. They had orchestrated a masterpiece of military strategy, using his own pride and prejudice against him. "All remaining ships," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat, "retreat through any available path. The humans, they are not what we thought they were." The surviving Kryvax vessels fled in panic, their once proud formation completely shattered. They left behind a graveyard of ships, a testament to humanity's mastery of warfare. Colonel Ta-Sung Ryu watched from the bridge of his assault carrier as the remaining Kryvax ships fled the battlefield. The space around New Haven Colony was filled with debris from destroyed alien vessels, each piece telling the story of humanity's military excellence. "Begin recovery operations," he ordered. "Search for any surviving alien crew members. We will show them that humans know the art of mercy as well as warfare." The human fleet moved with practiced precision, even in this aftermath phase. Search and rescue ships deployed in carefully planned patterns, ensuring no section of space went unchecked. Meanwhile, engineering vessels began collecting valuable alien technology from the wreckage. Admiral Sun Mi's image appeared on the main screen. "Colonel Ryu, prepare your forces for the final demonstration. Some Kryvax ships are regrouping at the edge of the system." "Understood, Admiral," Tai-Sung responded. He turned to his crew. "Launch all fighters. Show them our mastery of small unit tactics." Squadrons of human fighters emerged from their carriers. Unlike the earlier battle, they made no attempt to hide their skill. Each fighter group moved in perfect formation, their movements precise and beautiful in their deadly purpose. The remaining Kryvax vessels attempted one last attack, but their hearts were no longer in the fight. They had witnessed humanity's military art in its full glory, and fear had replaced their former arrogance. "Look at them now," Officer Ji Min Park commented from her station. "They finally understand what they're facing." The human fighters engaged the alien ships in what appeared to be an elegant dance. Each attack run was perfectly timed. Each evasive maneuver flowed smoothly into the next. The Kryvax ships, with their rigid tactics and predictable movements, could not match this fluid display of combat mastery. "This is Colonel Ryu to all fighters," Tai-Sung transmitted. "Execute pattern sunburst." The fighter squadrons split apart and reformed in a complex series of movements. To the watching aliens, it must have seemed impossible that such small ships could move with such coordination. Each fighter knew its place. Each pilot understood their role in the greater performance. Supreme Commander Thex's voice came through the communication system one final time. "Enough. We surrender. Your victory is complete, humans. Never in all our battles have we witnessed such mastery of warfare." Tai-Sung allowed himself a small smile. "All fighters, cease attack. Return to standard patrol formation." The human squadrons broke off their attack, but maintained their precise formations. Even in victory, they demonstrated the discipline and skill that had won the battle. Admiral Sun Mi addressed the surrendering alien commander. "Remember this day, Supreme Commander Thex. Remember how humans turned your expectations against you. Remember how we transformed space combat into an art form." The remaining Kryvax ships powered down their weapons. Escape pods launched from damaged vessels, their occupants choosing surrender over destruction. They had come expecting to find primitive warriors. Instead, they had encountered masters of military strategy and tactical execution. As the human fleet secured their victory, Colonel Ta-Sung reflected on the battle. The aliens had learned a valuable lesson about humanity. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other, learning and perfecting the art of war. Each generation had added to this knowledge, turning military strategy into an ever-evolving art form. "Send word to Earth Command," he ordered. "The performance is complete. The audience has been suitably impressed." 2 weeks after the Battle of New Haven, Commander Daeho Kim stood in the Grand Hall of Earth Defense Command. The room was filled with military officers from across human space, gathered to hear the full report of their victory over the Kryvax Legion. Admiral Sun Mi stepped onto the presentation platform, her uniform decorated with new medals. The lights dimmed as she activated the holographic display, showing the complete battle recording. "What you are about to witness," she began, "is not just a victory. It is a masterpiece of military strategy that has changed how the galaxy views humanity." The recording played, showing how the human forces had transformed a simple colony defense into an intricate performance of military precision. Each phase of the battle, appeared as a carefully choreographed movement in a greater symphony of warfare. The Kryvex Legion's survivors have spread across the galaxy, Officer Jamin Park reported, stepping forward. Their stories have reached every major spacefaring civilization. They speak of humans not as primitive warriors, but as masters of combat artistry. The hologram showed intercepted alien communications. Different alien species discussed the battle, analyzing how humans had elevated warfare to an art form. Some expressed fear, others admiration, but all showed new respect for humanity's capabilities. Our victory has achieved more than just defeating an enemy, Commander Daho said, addressing the assembly. It has established humanity's reputation as a species that cannot be underestimated. Captain Min Jiquan presented the intelligence reports. 3 other mercenary groups have already canceled planned raids on human territories. The recording of our battle has become required studying material in alien military academies. The assembly watched as the hologram displayed the final moments of the battle. The precision of the human fleet, the coordination of their fighters, the perfect execution of their strategy. It all came together like a masterful painting. But our greatest achievement, Admiral Sunma continued, was winning this battle with minimal loss of life on both sides. True mastery of warfare includes knowing when to show mercy. The lights came up as Colonel Ta Sung Reo presented the final statistics. The human fleet had suffered no ship losses. The Kryvex Legion's survivors had been treated well and returned to their people, carrying with them the story of humanity's military excellence. Today, we have received messages from 17 alien governments. Daho announced. They wish to establish diplomatic relations. They have seen how we fight when provoked, and they prefer to have us as allies rather than enemies. The assembly broke into applause. What had started as a simple defense of a colony had become a demonstration of humanity's true capabilities. They had shown the galaxy that humans had spent their long history of warfare learning, adapting, and perfecting their military skills. Let this victory serve as a reminder. Admiral Sunma concluded, humanity does not seek war, but we have mastered its arts. Any who threaten our peace will face not just our weapons, but generations of accumulated military wisdom. As the assembly ended, Daho looked out at the stars through the hall's large windows. Somewhere out there, aliens were studying recordings of the battle, learning that humans had turned warfare into an art form. They would think twice before threatening human space again. The performance was over, but its impact would echo through the galaxy for years to come.